Primary graves are graves in which the people or the victims were initially placed after their death, or indeed were executed whilst in the graves or near the graves. The other graves, the secondary graves, are those graves which have been created since that time, and the bodies from the primary graves have been moved to the secondary graves.
We have the circumstance where thousands of individuals were buried in the first instance in July of 1995 in very large primary mass graves. So basically their entire body was deposited in huge mass graves. Subsequent to that, after the passage of a number of months, those graves were exhumed by heavy equipment by the perpetrators and put into trucks and taken about the countryside in eastern Bosnia and deposited then in a large series of secondary mass graves. We have, in fact, 39 large secondary mass graves that are associated with 5 extremely large primary mass graves and execution events.
This shows the mechanical digger working at the site, which scrapes the top layer of soil off. 2 men watching it are archaeologists, and they're attempting to see artifacts or body parts which may be disturbed. You can see a cloth blindfold on the skull of that body. This shows the process of removing the body and body parts. The person conducting the work is an anthropologist, archaeologist, as are all the people handling the remains. This shows the continuing process of metal detecting over and under the body to identify metal artifacts, any danger to the people, but also bullets embedded in the body or below the body. Once the body is removed or parts of the body are removed, the archaeologists continue to find the bottom of the soil, if you like, to make sure there are no other remains or artifacts below the body. That body bag is then transported to the mortuary.
This is a very general view of the mortuary, a sort of random picture of the mortuary. Right at the back, you'll see people in blue and white, etc. They are the people who are actually examining the bodies. The bodies have been taken out of fridges. They've been put onto tables. The bodies are cleaned up, kind of reorganized, because a lot of them were skeletons, and the clothing removed and any other possessions. So that's what's going on there. This is now a close-up of the sort of working area. There are three tables, if you like, 3 teams going on. At the back there, we have a body. You can see the dark brown material there. That's a body with clothing and with sort of mud from the grave. That's actually myself working at the right-hand side there. I'm assisted by an anthropologist, a technician, and various other people. So we're all working together. This is a body, now a skeletonized body, laid out on a table. We've cleaned it, we've removed the clothing, we've reorganized the bones with the help of the anthropologists, and now we're recording our findings. This person in the front here, in fact, happens to be an anthropologist who is noting the bones which are present and trying to assess the age of the person and the sex of the person. The role of the pathologist is also to look at the body, but really from the point of view of looking for injuries and identifying where they are, what caused them, and things like that. But it has to be said that none of the bodies had any military uniform, and as far as we could see, virtually all of them, or virtually none of them, had any weapons or bullets in their pockets. Secondly, soldiers by definition are generally fairly fit and active population of fighting age. We were able to establish that in this group of people, particularly from some graves, there was a very wide age range from perhaps teenagers up to people potentially in their 80s or 90s. So not really what you would call a fighting age population. Additionally, a certain proportion of these people, I think is about, in one grave, 4%, in the Kozluk grave, had significant disabilities. A substantial portion of people in certainly some of the graves, Kozluk, Lazzetti particularly, had blindfolds and had ligatures on their wrists, again, which would go against them being traditional soldiers.
We're looking at the front view of a human skull, and there is a cloth that's tied around the area of the nose, and you can just see above the cloth the half of the eye socket. We didn't remove them. We tried to disturb them as little as possible, clean up the body, clean up the cloth, but not remove the cloth, and then put the bodies in a body bag.
There are some ligatures in there. For Srpska, we had 24 ligatures that were in place. Individuals' hands were tied behind their back. Actually, it was wired behind their back. They were using wires as ligatures. And then 24 were in place, and then another 24 were associated with the bodies.
Do sada je na preko 450 lokacija vezanih za juli 95. pronađeno najmanje 6800 kompletnih ili nekompletnih skeletnih ostataka žrtava Srebrenice prijavljeni od strane njihovih porodica. I do sada je od strane porodica prijavljen nestanak 8262 žrtve Srebrenice i žrtve. Dakle, ja to znam danas, 15-16 godina nakon jula 95. godine, jer su to podaci egzaktni, oni dolaze direktno iz masovnih grobnica. Nažalost, više od polovine tih grobnica su sekundarnog karaktera i moram reći jednu činjenicu koja je zaprepašćujuća. Jedan čovjek iz Srebrenice pronađen je u 4 različite masovne grobnice. Njegova glava i njegove ruke pronađene su u grobnici Zeleni Jadar 4. Njegova desna noga, odnosno nadkoljenica, pronađena je u grobnici Glogova 01. Desna potkoljenica ili tibija pronađena je u grobnici Blječeva 03, a njegova lijeva noga kompletna, dakle femur, tibija i fibula, pronađene su u grobnici Budak 02. Te 4 grobnice se nalazi na teritoriji 2 različite općine i ono što je najgore, tijelo te žrtve još uvijek nije kompletirano.